Good evening, Idyllwild. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. I'm Mike Fader, and President of Mountain Disaster Preparedness, and thank you all for joining us this evening. This is a very noteworthy topic. We're living in a crazy world nowadays, and the things you're going to see tonight and the training you're going to receive is the result of processes that were perfected by our Marines and Army folk during the last two wars. I don't want to make it sound like the only thing we're concerned about is mass shootings in Idyllwild. We all know that's probably not going to happen. But this training is involved with serious injury. And it could happen here as well as anywhere. It could happen on our highways coming up. It could happen with chainsaws and power equipment and our city bird, the wood chipper. Our mission is emergency preparedness, as you all know. And this is, once again, a community outreach effort by Mountain Disaster Preparedness to make sure that as many of us as possible are prepared for the unexpected. So I'm so happy to see so many people here tonight. Can I ask if there's any representatives from any of the camps or the school here? Our team, with a little warning and a little pre-planning, is willing and capable to take this presentation to the camps in the area and our schools to train the administrators and the staff. So, with that prefaced, I want to introduce our presenter. We're lucky. Our core medical group is going to put this presentation on tonight under the leadership of Gigi Kramer. Gigi has been a registered nurse for 38 years, with 25 years plus of emergency room and emergency medicine. She's also worked as an ICU flight nurse. She's been the paramedic coordinator for the Palm Springs Fire Department and taught the registered nursing program at the College of the Desert. She's a past member of the Riverside Mountain Rescue Unit, and she's currently a member of the Riverside County Medical Reserve Corps and co-chair with Dick Goldberg of our medical group, part of MDP. So with that, Gigi, I'd like to introduce you and bring you up.
Can everybody see this? Can everyone see me? Because I'm having trouble seeing this. Okay. Hi. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I don't know about you, but I'd be home in my jammies, and I'd be snuggled up with a book or the TV or something. So thank you for coming. I'm glad that we had this opportunity to teach you guys what to do. This is very exciting. You do not need any medical training whatsoever to do this. This will be very simple to do. You were also given handouts in case, I know how that works in a week or two, 10 days. All that knowledge goes out the door, right? So you have this to refer to. We also have, Dr. Tom made this great poster up, which is your basic, exactly what you need to do. We are talking about Stop the Bleed. It took me a little while to figure this out because I called it Stop the Bleeding. The program is actually called Stop the Bleed. Okay. So, stop the bleed, save a life. This is what the whole PowerPoint is basically about. Okay? I want to get you guys to the point where you will actually do something instead of driving and looking the other way. All right? You think, oh yeah, I know what you've done. It's no big deal for you to see blood and stuff. Well, yeah. That's true. All right, so the background, is it fuzzy or can you see this? Okay. What the military found that the leading cause of preventable combat deaths was uncontrolled bleeding. So someone came up with a lovely idea. Actually, it's been around for a very long time, and it wasn't called a tourniquet. They used them in the early 1900s. A little more barbaric, but it worked. So in 2003, there was a standard of issue for the military, especially your special ops team were sent out, and they would have the tourniquets already on their arms and on their legs. So if they needed to, they could go ahead and put it on the attach it themselves. And the tourniquet is made so you can do it yourself. In case one arm, you're putting on your one arm, or you're putting on, it's also made with a tie. It's very simple to put on, and everyone will get an opportunity in the back to practice putting on a tourniquet. Okay, so in 2008, they realized that by using tourniquets, they had an 87% survival rate. That's pretty great. After having our taxes done, I wish we had something similar to that. So after Sandy Hook, everyone finally said enough is enough. Let's get together a joint committee, and it consisted of American College of Surgeons, which this PowerPoint and most of this has come from. National Security Council, the military, the FBI, and multiple emergency medical service agencies. They all got together in one room, can you believe that? And they came up with a Hartford Consensus, which is a national policy to enhance survivability with international mass casualty incidents or active shooter events. So as you can see, we hate to go that way, but this is the way we're going to teach you how you can use it for things other than that, okay? And here's 4 different scenes that you probably have been burned in the back of your mind that you've seen on TV, different instances. And if you look, there are first responders in the upper one that you can see, but there are bystanders helping. Do you see that? They got in there and they helped. That's what I'm hoping you guys will do after leaving here today. You'll go, yeah, I'm gonna help. So I want everyone to repeat after me. No one should die from uncontrolled bleeding. Okay? Can you promise me that? All right, so in the late 2015, the White House came on board and launched the Stop the Bleed campaign, which is what we're doing right now. And they were hoping to obviously reduce preventable deaths from uncontrolled bleeding. You guys remember this guy? Remember, he was all over the news, wasn't he? Did they ever find out what his name was? Okay. So what we're doing today is to teach you guys, give you the tools in your toolbox now so you can feel comfortable to actually stop and help somebody who is bleeding, okay? And not wait for 911 to come. All right, this is a famous question that everyone always says. Where is EMS? Where are they? I called them, where are they? You know, people always seem to think that it takes forever for them to come. Well, there's reasons why. If you're in an active shooter situation, the situation is still dangerous for anyone to go in there other than law enforcement. So they're out, police are securing or neutralizing the scene. The EMS, the fire department, the paramedics are staged away from the danger. They're there, they just can't help you. And what's very interesting when you read about the Pulse nightclub incident, how it said the police officers and the SWAT team, they were not prepared for the smells of blood, the smell of gunfire, the people when they're walking in, grabbing their legs and saying, please help me, please help me. And that wasn't their job. Their job is to get in and find the shooter and then get out as quickly as can, neutralize the situation. So let's make this to something that we can understand. So let's say You're coming up 74. There's an accident right in front of you. You're able to stop your car. There's 10, 15 cars behind you, and guess where that ambulance is? They can't get to you. You've called 911, or you didn't because there's no cell service. So initially, hopefully you will send someone to call 911, and you will render first aid to this person. Okay? Again, this is what Dr. Tom did. Stop the bleeding. You have that on there. So let's just go over that very quickly. This is all you need to know. So stop the bleed, save a life. I want you to apply pressure with your hands. We'll go over it a little more in depth. Or apply pressure and press, or apply a tourniquet. There's 4 steps down there for your tourniquet. You want to wrap it around, you want to wind it, secure it, and time it. And we'll go over that. I went over that real quickly, but we will go over that. Stop the bleed kits. These are pretty, aren't they? This is what you would find at the Ontario airport. Something pretty, something nice, so you can find it at the airport. They've been placing these in with the AED, because we all know that an AED is for an emergency, so we know where to go. Behind the scene, you may see Ziploc baggies full of, and here's our kits that we sell. This is my kit. And what I did was I just added my Stop the Bleed kit to it. There it is. It's not pretty, but it's in a Ziploc baggie and it works. All right? The other thing you can do for those of you in schools, or if you have a large campus of a church, whatnot, you can put multiple ones of these in a backpack, and then you are portable and you can use them as needed. Okay? Or you can have the pretty ones. That's kind of up to you. Don't fail me now. Come on, baby. All right. So, we have 4 primary principles. It never changes. Your principles will always be the same. Your scenarios will change. It could be when the house dropped on the Wicked Witch. Remember, that was a big problem. That could be a scenario. We could have an earthquake up here. We could have, would you like to show some of these incidents? I brought along Vanna.
Pass one of these around the house. We were going to split the wood, it doesn't quite go where it's supposed to go. The old dull kitchen knife. Bob, the trusty skill saw. There's probably a few people that have got one of these. Probably like everybody, and this is not a recommendation, but most people deactivate the safety feature on a skill saw. I won't tell you what it is, but the blades are sharp on a skill saw. The other fun item up here that's pretty prevalent, chainsaw. How many people put on a pair of chaps when they're cutting their own firewood at home? Probably nobody. This will do great damage to your leg, as you'll see later. You can think about all the other things that could be out there that would cause an injury that you're going to talk to you about.
Okay, I'm sure you all have at least one of those in your house. We all have knives, right? The dullest knives you can possibly find. We wonder why they don't cut. Okay, so that would be scenario that you would use it for. So the scenarios change, obviously, right? It might be a different one, different day, but the 4 principles will remain the same. 1, your safety. 2, identify the injury. 3, you want to stop the bleeding. And 4, keep them warm. And we'll go over that. So, again, the first one is safety. You are very important. If you are not safe, if you don't put yourself in danger to save someone else's life. If you're injured, you cannot help someone else, right? Think about gloves. You may want to, does anyone carry gloves on them in their car? If you carry them in your car, change them out because they've been in the sun. And let me tell you, they're not pretty when you try and put them on because they adhere together like this. And so change them out regularly, if you would. So the second one, you're going to identify the injury. And I have to warn you, there's a couple slides here that are pretty gross. So if you have that issue, just close your eyes. Locate your injury and the type of bleeding. There's 3 types of bleeding. There's arterial bleeding, which is, it spurts blood. It's bright red in color. There's venous bleeding, which is kind of a steady flow, dark red in color. And then there's capillary, which is a slow, even flow. I saw a couple of you sit up real straight. You thought this was coming right away, didn't you? Okay. So let's talk about bleeding from the artery. We talked about it's bright red in color, and it will spurt from the wound. It is life-threatening. Okay, here it comes, kids. Oh, don't tell me. Come on, spurt, baby. You know what? Is that not how life always is? It would spurt and flow. Anyway, it would, as you see, it was going like this, okay? I still don't know what body part that is. I still don't know if this is human. We keep looking at it, we're going, is that a shoulder and a neck? Or is this, no, but look at the hair. There's some long hair in there. Anyway, okay, let's try it one more time. We'll sneak up on it. Okay. All right, bleeding from a vein. We talked about dark red, steady flow. It can be life-threatening if you damaged a large vein. Let's see if this one works. Oh yeah, this one doesn't work either. Okay, this is fun. This one, what it did is it kept steady flow down here, and then this kept steady flowing, bleeding, 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 which could be a life-threatening injury in a while. So bleeding from capillaries, dark red in color, and oozing from the injury site. So if you have any bleeding from an arm or a leg, you can control it with direct pressure or a tourniquet. Other body parts, such as your neck. I lost my cursor. There you are. Ooh. Okay, there it is. Such as the neck, the shoulder, groin, direct pressure, and packing of the wound. You cannot use a tourniquet in these areas. Okay? And we'll talk about where you can use a tourniquet. Internal bleeding, as you see the whole entire torso, obviously bleeding internally. We don't know where it's going, if it's pooling in the back, if it's pooling over here. This is not something that you can manage in the field. You do the best you can. You may do the direct pressure and do packing as well, but obviously no tourniquet will be involved for this. And these are the first people that will be transferred out when 911 is able to come in. So if we're going to apply direct pressure, you want to control it for 10 minutes. Most of us have a short attention span, so 10 minutes is a real long time. And when you're doing it, well, there's pictures a little bit later. No peeking. You're going to hold pressure, and you are going to okay, here's my arm. And if I've got some bleeding, I'm going to hold pressure right here. I'm going to hold pressure with gauze. This is if it's not life-threatening, and my gauze is open. I'm going to hold pressure two-handed, just like this. And I'm not going to peek, and I'm not going to let go. You don't have to be the person to hold pressure. You can delegate that to someone else, but pressure needs to be held for a minimum of 10 minutes. Now you can, with good direct pressure, control bleeding in a groin or neck. And keep in mind that it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot, and they're not going to like you. They might call you names and whatnot. That doesn't mean you should lessen the pressure. It just means that in a few minutes they will probably pass out, and it won't be an issue. All right, here's 3 examples of direct pressure. The first, the largest one there, is he is holding direct pressure on himself. The other two, you see the two arms stretched out like that. Looks like you're getting ready to do CPR. That's exactly how you do it. No bent arms. That's your direct pressure, and you're holding it with your body like this, okay? So you want to expose the wound. That's why you have a pair of scissors in here to cut the clothing away. So you need to know what you're working with, right? There could be something really interesting underneath there. Packing the wound. So once you've taken the clothes off or cut the clothes, you've identified where it is, find out where it's bleeding, and you can pack it with gauze. We have the gauze here. This is your hemostatic dressing. There's two types that I have here. One, the first two on the left are Quick Clot, same brand, and the other one is Celox. Anybody on blood thinners in this room? Blood thinners? Let's see them. Hands up. Who's on blood thinners? Exactly. I am too. So, Celox is made from seashell. It's seashell based, and it will help with clotting much better than the Quick Clot will when you're on blood thinners. There's been no issue with allergic reactions from the shellfish. The nice thing about the Quick Clot, military has used this. This is all they use is Quick Clot, but you can see it when they take an X-ray. So it's radio opaque. So that is a nice thing. I don't know. This is why this is in my kit. I think most of us, as we get older, tend to be on blood thinners. I'm all for Celox. Okay. Celox. This is $40-some. The tourniquets are $30. They weren't that price until they became really popular. Okay. So, use what you have. If you're at home and you've got your tea towels, use your tea towels. If you've got gauze, use your gauze. Well, he's going to take his shirt off, and I want to be there. All right, so let's pack the wound. Yes. Oh, it's your choice. Let's do the arm. How do you like these? Aren't these kind of... What's interesting is we'll leave them around the house and forget about them, and they go, oh, my God, what's that? Okay, here's my gauze. And what I'm going to do the two-finger method. I am going to shove, and I'm not going to be gentle about it because you need to make sure that you get this in every nook and cranny. Do I have to put this entire thing in here? No. And then once I've filled it, I'll put my pressure on there and hold pressure. Okay? You have scissors. You can cut it if you want. I always kind of like to leave it in case I need it, in case it starts rebleeding or whatnot, or I can even wrap it around the wound. Thank you, Vanna. That was good. So you saw that was the right, the light, sorry. You saw that was the right way to do it. You're going to two-finger shove it into the wound. How many people really want to have that done to themselves? Again, this is another thing that hurts a lot. We haven't gotten to the most pain yet, but we're working up to it. So as you can see, the gauze is all inside the wound there, and it has stopped the bleeding. At the bottom, see the X? No, bad. You don't want to just place it on top and you're good to go. No. Okay? You want to stop the bleeding with the packing. All right. I know you've been wondering when to use a tourniquet. Okay. Immediately, if you have life-threatening bleeding, if you've got that pulsating blood spurting out of the wound, don't take the time to remove the clothes or your clothes. Place the tourniquet above, baby. Place the tourniquet above the bleeding site. The one thing you want to do is you definitely don't want to include the elbow, any joint. So if this would be the closest place would be right here. So I want to take it up above the joint, okay? You're just going to turn your windlass. It only will take a couple of times. And then you're going to place it back in there. Bring this across. There we go. And you'll take your Sharpie and time it. And you're done. Now, how do you know it worked? Anybody know? Exactly, the bleeding stopped. That's exactly what it is. So you're going to tighten this until it bleeds. Now, if you thought they didn't like you before, they are going to hate you big time. Because if you do this correctly to stop the bleeding, it hurts a lot. Okay? Yes, and this is what you hope for. Then they'll pass out. Okay, good, done. If for whatever reason you did everything correct and they're still bleeding, it's recommended that you put another tourniquet above that site. Don't ask me any more about that, okay? I didn't do this slide. So here's your tourniquet. Here's your different pieces of the tourniquet. You have the strap. You have your windlass. You have your windlass clip, and then you have your windlass strap. So you only have basically 4 different pieces to it. And this is going to tell you how to do it. I want you to notice in number A, do you see the blood? It's not oozing, it's pouring. It's like pouring. They couldn't get it up. So he put it above the joint, right? Okay. And in B, do you see him turning? Do you see that it has actually stopped bleeding? Okay, once you have gotten it tight and the bleeding is stopped, you're going to put your windlass rod into the clip. It's going to stay there. You're going to pull that white piece over and put the time on. Okay, again, this is extremely painful. If you are going to put this on a leg and it happens to go over cargo, who has cargo shorts on or cargo pants or whatnot? Who always have pockets here? Make sure there's nothing in the pocket before you try and use a tourniquet. It might not work, okay? All right. So if you don't have gauze, if you don't have a tourniquet, if you don't have packing, use what you got. Use your shirt, use your belt, use your tie, use your shoelaces. Shoelaces I'm a little hesitant on. They're a little, well, the dirty. They always say, you know what, dirty, I don't care. Use a dirty sock, the surgeons have said. They said, I'll take care of the infection later. So don't worry about, oh, I've got something on my shirt, I might not want to use it. So use what you've got and never remove the tourniquet. Once it's in place, don't remove it. And no peeking, no untying it and letting it go. It needs to stay on. Okay? They have also done studies that it can last up to 4 hours with the tourniquet in place without nerve damage or loss of limb. 4 hours. It is a long time, but if you are in a situation where they have not found whoever's done the shooting, and you can be somewhere for a very long time. I don't want to spend 4 hours with a tourniquet. I don't know about you guys. Okay, the last one of the principles was keep them warm. If they get too cold, if your body temperature lowers too much, you will not clot. And I don't care if your tourniquet's placed correctly, it won't work. So keep them warm. And again, when you think, warm is no big deal, it's just equally as important as stopping the bleeding. Okay, so keep them warm. So wherever you go, wear 4 jackets. Okay, and remember, keep calm and stop the bleed. Anybody have any questions? When? Okay, and that is old? Okay, and that was not what we talked about in this at all, huh? No, tourniquets were out of vogue for quite some time because I have a birthday coming up, so I like to, there we go. So, but in this case, when are you going to use a tourniquet? Every single time someone's bleeding? What type of bleeding are we looking at? The spurting, that kind of stuff? Yeah. Now, if the blood is spurting here, am I going to use a tourniquet? No. Are there some people, would you like to use a tourniquet on? And the same thing if you're up here and any type of anything on the torso. Okay, because you've got to be able to put it somewhere. Does that answer your question, Sheila?
I know where to use the tourniquet, I mean, I understand that part, but I was wondering just that, and maybe I'm wrong.
And how long ago did you take your CERT class?
4 years ago, 3 years ago.
And this Stop the Bleeding thing has only been around for the last 3 years? Yes. Yes.
Military combat lifesaver, which is not medic, but the tourniquet, that tourniquet you talked about, we've had 17 years of war now, and they use the tourniquets over and over. Even some people have been up 7 to 8 hours with the tourniquet on. The doctor use tourniquets when they use surgery. So it's something that they've learned with all the war that's going on, that you use tourniquets and not do the damage that they used to believe that.
Yes.
So it's not enough just to wrap and tight as much as possible. You need some kind of
You need a, yes.
as tight as you can get it.
And even, we tried this at home the other day to say, okay, how would this really work here? So you need a great ballpoint pen. Ideally, your pen would be one piece, not a bic, where you can separate it because that makes it an easier for it to break. And you can twist this around and use it. They said that if there was ever an issue with mass shootings in Vegas, they said everybody had a belt on because it was country western. I don't know. How many people have belts on right now? Not like they used to, huh? Remember you used to wear? Yeah. They also said bras, panties. I kind of draw the line what I take off. So I'm sorry, you may just bleed to death. Any other questions?
I don't know what you call them, but they're like a piece of silver fabric that folds up into a little square, like this, Is that something that might be good to put in your little packet?
That might be good to do that. I don't know how well that would work if you're not using the sun to help keep it warm. I don't know. It would not hurt. Definitely would not hurt. You can also put people right next to him, cuddle up right next to the person if you can. There's, the old sleeping bag thing. We always talked about that. But yeah, it folds up nice. That would work very nicely in the kit, and we can see if it works. Absolutely. Yes.
So if someone's injured and they also have edema, some of the classes that I've been on, they tell them so there might have been a thing that if you could pack them with ice or do something, but what you just said about the temperature drop and they're more likely to bleed is something you want to avoid lowering the temperature around the site as well.
Correct, yes. If there's any type of bleeding, they don't want you to use ice in this instance, at home or something. That may be something that works for you, but again, like you said, you might lower their temperature because they're bleeding anyway. So they're going to be cold, and no ice. Thanks for bringing that up. Someone else had a question? Yes. What is it? These are impregnated gauze. So it's basically gauze like this with super stuff in it that goes and it actually helps the body clot. It's super magic stuff, yeah. And once you open it, it's not super magic, so I'm not opening it.
The nice part about it is in the early days when the military used quick clot, which was powder, the powder is what you probably remember old pictures of the medic in the field on the powder and the wound. What they've done is they've impregnated now the material you need to put in the wound with the material, for the common person on the street to use. You can buy this stuff, Amazon, eBay, all that stuff. This stuff is for sale out there. The price range is all over.
And it has a 5-year shelf life. So it's pretty good. Also, keep in mind if you're keeping your first aid kit in your car, summers are tough, really tough on them. So change your stuff out if you do. Mm-hmm. I'll introduce you to the other clots. It's nice to have a little extra if you find that the gauze is not going to work. Yeah. I don't know if I would pull this out for every. I mean, this has to be somebody special. This is for 35. No. It's not like you're going to. You used it. You go to stand there going, "Can I have a replacement, please?" No, same thing with your tourniquet. You just have to say bye-bye to it, right? Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Whatever you happen to have. A tampon works lovely, too. I don't know if anyone still carries those. But those worked really well for nosebleeds, too. Your dirty sock, your pants, if you want to cut the pants and shove it in however you want to do that, whatever you have. A scarf works nicely. As long as you pack it in, don't just lay it nicely. Nothing's going to work if you lay it nicely. You want to pack it in there, shove it in there, and stop that bleeding. So, I mean, everybody here has something that they could use to stop the bleeding. So, any more questions? So, what we're going to do now is there are 4 stations, and you guys can split yourselves up, and you can have an opportunity. I want you all to have an opportunity to learn how to put direct pressure on the wound, how to pack a wound, and how to put a tourniquet on. Okay? So this is what we're going to be doing. This is our little practice session. Now, keep in mind that I know you can turn this. Please don't, okay? When you first take this out of the package, you only need to do 3 or 4 turns, and that is enough, okay? And how do we know it's enough? Bleeding has stopped. Bleeding has stopped. You can also check and see if there's a pulse. You should not have a pulse either. So, go to different stations. You can come up here. Be very careful up here. We've got the leg, a leg and an arm. On page 38, so there you go. Don't throw that away.
Now go ahead and lock this one in. Lock one end of it in there. There you go. That holds it from unwinding. So then you're going to pull the Velcro tab over. And you're going to write the time. And you put the time down and put that on. That doesn't mean anything to us. That's the hospital and the ER once you get there. They were going to lock it. I think I said that.
This one's shooting too.
Or did the bleeding stop? If you know how to check a pulse, if this is an arm, go down and check a pulse because that pulse will disappear. If you don't feel the pulse, then this is working. That's what you're trying to do. No. You can hold that. You can wrap another gauze around it and tie it off. If your bleeding has stopped, you can tie it off at that. For 10 minutes, You're still going to hold that. You're still going to hold that because you want the clotting to take effect. That's the problem.
I don't want to just go 3 or 4 turns and go, oh, I'm done. Right. All right? So you can even make that approach like that. No.
Which way you do it?
You can, this can go, there's no wrong way to put it. You can put it, and it does not matter what it is, okay? And you know what I might do is I might put a little dressing here, just over that, to keep that from irritating them.
If I still feel the pulse, it hasn't stopped.
Right, it may not be spurting out, but it's still bleeding.
Right.
So if
So
you
you
feel
need
a
to do it
pulse,
when you don't want to rip it out.
Yeah, because it could make it worse.
So you got it in place. So it's still, it's bleeding, bleeding, bleeding. So what am I going to do? Okay, how do I make it tighter? Right, you're going to turn that. Doesn't matter which way you turn it. You're just going to turn it until why? When do you know to stop turning it? Exactly. So you're going to turn it. And let's just say it's there, and you're going to put it in the clip, and it fits nicely in the clip. Okay. We've checked the bleeding's already stopped. So sometimes I'll just go ahead and bring this around like this, just so I know where it's at. I may just go like this, and then put that over like that.
You got this on. You feel comfortable that this is working. You're going to wrap this to hold your dressing that's already in there. So you're going to wrap it somehow. You're going to put something over that to hold it so you can let go of the pressure you hold. Because you've been holding it for 10 or 15 minutes. No, this is doing its job. You still need to secure that. Because it'll fall out eventually if you walk away and don't get secured. We don't care about dirt. We don't care about dirty stuff in a wound like that. They can fix all that later. That all gets fixed later.
Superficially, you just put pressure.
I don't care. I just want to feel.
Yeah, feel how you. Oh yeah. You want to put that fairly tight, but it's not that important because it really tightens it up with that.
So did she just do two?
Tourniquets are for training they're reusable, yes. And all I'm doing is stretching up because inside that piece of your twisting,